PR Connections Radio presents.
Welcome to Vegas Hockey Hub here on PRConnectionsRadio.com, the voice of new media. I'm your host, Ian Kelly. And on this edition of Vegas Hockey Hub Recap, where we break down every single thing that's going on with your Vegas Golden Knights, we're going to be talking about the most recent event that just happened with your Vegas Golden Knights. And there's a lot of positive stuff that we can talk about with your Vegas Golden Knights. And we're going to get into all of that here on Vegas Hockey Hub Recap. And this will be a fun episode for sure. I mean, we're going to be out here, picking up W's like Sebastian Vettel did back for Red Bull and Ferrari. For anyone who's a Formula One fan, you'll get the reference. But for Vegas Golden Knights, this was a really interesting matchup. We'll break down all of it here on Vegas Hockey Hub. And don't forget to go to PRConnectionsRadio.com, the voice of new media. Check out all the amazing content and all of the shows we have on the network. We have about a dozen shows on the platform. So I recommend going to the website, www.PRConnectionsRadio.com, or check out our social media pages on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. We are everywhere at Vegas Hockey Hub. Or if you want to go onto the network, they are on at PR Connections, and they have Twitch, they got Instagram, TikTok. We're on LinkedIn as well. So there's all these brand new platforms and everything that we have that's going to be on the PR Connections Radio network. And here being part of Vegas Hockey Hub, I appreciate them having us on their network. And it has been a fantastic season. So this is season 2 of Vegas Hockey Hub, and this is the first season of Vegas Hockey Hub Recap. So I just wanted to say before we get on to the actual topic, PRConnectionsRadio.com. So getting into the actual conversation here, let's break down the current wild card standings involving your Vegas Golden Knights. Because right now, there's an interesting dilemma that is coming up because we have about a dozen games left right now. There is an interesting situation involving your Vegas Golden Knights, as there is right now a 2-point gap between the Los Angeles Kings and Vegas Golden Knights. Just 2 points. That is one game difference. It's kind of crazy to think about your Vegas Golden Knights possibly taking on the Edmonton Oilers in the first round or getting the final wild card spot. Now, for the people that are interested in where St. Louis and Minnesota goes into this equation, I will help you out. Vegas Golden Knights, 81 points. St. Louis and Minnesota are back at 77 and 76. So it's only a 4-point and a 5-point gap that separates the final wild card spot, which is currently your Vegas Golden Knights, and the two teams battling and trying to get into the wild card coming out of the Central in Minnesota and with St. Louis. Now, if you're a Vegas Golden Knights fan, you can either be optimistic or you can be pessimistic. The optimistic Golden Knights fan is going to look at it and go, if we leapfrog LA, then the final wild card spot will not even matter because you'll have the third and final spot in the Pacific Division. You'll take on the Edmonton Oilers, and you'll have a rematch from the playoff last year where the Vegas Golden Knights took on the Edmonton Oilers in the second round of the 2023 Stanley Cup playoffs. Now, if you're pessimistic, you're going to look there and say LA will hold on, and the Vegas Golden Knights are going to have such a landslide that the Minnesota Wild or St. Louis Blues can kind of take that 4 or 5 point gap and use it to their advantage and leapfrog Vegas. Now, the optimistic one, I like that option. I like the odds of them taking on Edmonton. Now, the realistic scenario is, you have Dallas, you have Colorado, you have Winnipeg. You're seeing, who's still fighting it out for the number 1 seed in the Central Division. Vancouver still battling out for the first seed in the Pacific. The way your host, Ian Kelly, sees it, best case scenario is you do leapfrog LA. That in the last dozen games, they're only 2-point gap. You best LA and you take on Edmonton, or if worst case scenario, Vancouver falls off the edge of the earth, you'll have Vancouver versus Vegas, and they haven't had a series since the bubble in 2020. The realistic scenario, and this is what I'm going to put out to you, is I see your Vegas Golden Knights taking on Colorado in the first round. I realistically see St. Louis and Minnesota are not going to go on a run. Vegas is not going to collapse like some people are hoping that your Vegas Golden Knights do. Instead, what I see happening involving your Vegas Golden Knights is that they are going to be the 8th seed, and they're going to take on the Central Division winner. That could be Colorado, for the sake of the argument. Let's say that it is. And you will have a first-round matchup, which could have been a Western Conference Finals appearance. All right, you have Colorado, the team who won the Stanley Cup in 2022, and your Vegas Golden Knights who won a Stanley Cup in 2023. It's your host, Ian Rakelly's prediction of what's going to happen. If you want to put your prediction, by the way, just go into the comments section, put it down below. I'm curious to see what you have. But that's the current wild card standing. Now, segueing over, let's get into the roster moves involving your Vegas Golden Knights. Unfortunately, we still have no update on Alex Pietrangelo. Alex Pietrangelo still will be out for your Vegas Golden Knights. That means that for today's game, as you actually saw with the box score, you saw a very interesting situation involving the Vegas Golden Knights and this game at T-Mobile Arena. Now, Ben Hutton, once again, back in the starting lineup. And you really actually saw a different combination of people on defense. But, yeah, Noah Hanifin kind of being on that same there. You got Ben Hutton, Alec Martinez. He's back as a veteran starting lineup. Brayden McNabb, Shea Theodore still on the second defensive pairing. But overall, defensively, with your Vegas Golden Knights, Alex Pietrangelo still out with that situation. We're not going to speculate, say that it is an injury, say that it's, whatever people are going to say it is. But until we get all the information, all we are going to point out is that Alex Pietrangelo is still out for your Vegas Golden Knights. And that does mean that you did have a different combination in the starting lineup for your Vegas Golden Knights. And it did mean that you do have an interesting line combination. And we'll go over all of that, by the way. When we get into the starting lineup, we'll break all of that down. But still, Alex Pietrangelo being out does mean that Noah Hanifin, more responsibility on that end for Noah Hanifin. Nick Hague, he's actually getting more of an opportunity now. He's getting more of an ability to play alongside top-minute lines. And it will just be really interesting to see how your Vegas Golden Knights perform. But, yeah, so Noah Hanifin now going to be with Nick Hague, Ben Hutton alongside Alec Martinez, and then Brayden McNabb and Shea Theodore because of the situations here. So, according to the roster moves, Alex Pietrangelo still out with your... Now, getting into the starting lineup with your Vegas Golden Knights, as there's going to be the event that we're talking about with this matchup, Logan Thompson in net for the Golden Knights. And, this is a guy in Logan Thompson who's been a workhorse, has been a steady rock for the Golden Knights all year long. And, him going into this matchup, obviously, we know what happened the last time the Seattle Kraken Vegas Golden Knights took place. And when it comes to Logan Thompson, it'll be interesting to see what happens in that situation. Because to take you back and just going, just a little bit, it's not even that far to go back. But for anyone who remembers the last time that these two teams faced off, okay? The last time you saw Seattle and Vegas on the same rink, it wasn't even that far ago. And the situation was Aiden Hill was in net for that with a 5-4 win in overtime. Now, the last time Logan Thompson was in net against the Seattle Kraken was the Winter Classic. And we'll get into the Winter Classic in just a minute. But Logan Thompson was in net for the Winter Classic. I was at that game, and it was a 3-0 shutout. 3-0 shutout when it came to Logan Thompson in a loss. So hopefully for Logan Thompson, there would be some redemption there, considering the last time he faced the Seattle Kraken, he gave up 3 goals, and it was a shutout loss when it came to Logan Thompson and the Seattle Kraken. So, something really interesting there to see what happens here. Now, the last time Logan Thompson was in net for your Vegas Golden Knights, and the last time he suited up and played, because, Logan Thompson, obviously we were seeing Aiden Hill a lot more recently in net outside of Logan Thompson. But the last time that we saw him in net was the game against New Jersey, where Logan Thompson only allowed 1 goal, and they picked up the victory. So despite Aiden Hill starting 6 of the last 7 games, Logan Thompson will be in net for your Vegas Golden Knights, and hopefully going to be picking up some wins for Vegas in this matchup. And, Logan Thompson, I will sing his praises all day long. He is somebody who over the last couple of years has really impressed your host, Ian Rakelli. And for all Golden Knights fans that are watching all around the world, he has definitely earned a lot of people's respect over the last couple of years because of his performance in net, and especially during the injuries that happened in December and January with Aiden Hill, even with Yuri Patera having an injury as well. Logan Thompson really stepped up this season and really cemented himself as a Vegas Golden Knight. So Logan Thompson being in net for Vegas in this game, and then we will have the starting lineup, which will be right here. As with your Vegas Golden Knights, line 1 when it comes to the forwards is who has been typical all year long. Ivan Barbashev on the left, Jack Eichel up center, and then Jonathan Marchessault on the right. Line 2 will be Pavel Dorofeyev on the left, William Karlsson at center, and Mike Lamadio on the right. Line 3 on the left side will be William Carrier with Chandler Stevenson at center and Anthony Mantha on the right side. And then on line 4, you have Brett Howden on the left, Nick Waugh at center, and Keane Kolazar on the right side. Now, not just going to mention the fact that Brett Howden, Kolazar, and Waugh did start out the game, even though that is typical for Vegas Golden Knights to have the fourth line eventually start out the game on the first, during the faceoff. However, it is interesting to see how Brett Howden has really started to gel on the fourth line. And we'll talk about what happened later in the game and help the Vegas Golden Knights in the third period. But Brett Howden, I really am impressed with what he has been doing on the fourth line with Waugh and Kolazar. And hopefully, I don't know what's going to happen come playoff time. But with Brett Howden, there's really been some chemistry there, I've noticed, with Waugh and Kolazar. Line 3 is kind of an influx, kind of just an awkward combination of guys, just, kind of rotating pieces. William Carrier not on the fourth line as a winger, so they're putting him on the third line. Chandler Stevenson as a third-line center makes sense. He really hasn't done that much this season in terms of absolute production. And then Anthony Mantha as a trade deadline acquisition being on the third line now is a bit interesting to really say, considering what the Golden Knights gave up to get Anthony Mantha. And then line 2, Pavel Dorofeyev and William Karlsson. We've actually seen this combination throughout the season. And then Michael Lamadio and William Karlsson, we've seen those two paired up as well. So that would be the forward lines right there. I know we mentioned it early on in the show, but defensively, Nick Hague on the first line for once again this season with Noah Hanifin. So similar to earlier this season when Alec Martinez got injured, they had Nick Hague get called up and be with Alex Pietrangelo. Well, this time Alex Pietrangelo is out, so you have Nick Hague being on the first line with Noah Hanifin. And I will actually point out the first defensive pairing actually did really well in this game. You actually saw Noah Hanifin and Nick Hague kind of do very well in about their 20 minutes of time on ice defensively. McNabb and Theodore, they have been gelling very well over the last couple of years. No reason to split them up. And then you have kind of the combination of Ben Hutton and Alec Martinez. Obviously, Zach Whitecloud not in the starting lineup once again. But with Ben Hutton and Alec Martinez, that would be what your defensive pairings would be with Thompson. Now, one thing that I do want to mention before we get into the actual game itself is the jerseys, because similar to what I said earlier in the show about the Winter Classic, well, they brought those jerseys back, except this time it is in Vegas at T-Mobile Arena. So Seattle Kraken wore their Winter Classic jerseys. Golden Knights wore their Winter Classic jerseys. And it's going to be really interesting to see, those jerseys. This is going to be the final appearance of the season for those Winter Classic jerseys. Now, for the Seattle Kraken, it'll be interesting to see if they do anything, next year, 5-10 years down the road, if they ever try to bring those back, vice versa with the Vegas Golden Knights. Because we have seen in the past that Winter Classic jerseys are not just one and done. They sometimes do get brought back, or they do become what they call throwbacks, and every once in a while they are, brought back. So So once again, the Winter Classic jerseys, yeah, they were put into this game. And, I remember when these were announced by the Vegas Golden Knights and the Seattle Kraken, when they did the media and unveiled it, there was a lot of harsh feedback on the Golden Knights side. For Seattle, a lot of people love those jerseys, and I'm going to be unbiased here and say that they did have some really good-looking jerseys with the Seattle Kraken. With the Vegas Golden Knights, the simple V design, there were some people who did like it, and there were some people who did not like it. And if you liked it, great for you. If you didn't, I understand. Me, I'm kind of in the middle. Your host, Ian Rakelli, is in the neutral area of it. To me, it's a fine jersey. It's an okay jersey. I will still prefer the glow-in-the-dark jerseys, the reverse retros that we had back in 2022, 2023. That is what I think actually was the best special jersey the Golden Knights have had. And, yeah, that's still the best jersey they've had up to this point. So getting into the actual game itself, getting into the first period of this game, and really interesting to see what happens when it comes to the Vegas Golden Knights, the pacing and everything that was happening between Vegas and Seattle. And, when you really first started watching it, the first line was really putting the work in. You saw guys like, for example, Marchessault, he had his opportunities. Eichel, who had the lead in shots, with 7 out of everybody on the Vegas Golden Knights. He had a few opportunities. And then there was even an opportunity by Ivan Barbashev that just went a little bit past its mark. Now, with about 8 minutes into the first period, you would have, with his 22nd goal of the season by Jack Eichel. Now, Jack Eichel, who has been a real force to be reckoned with over the last couple of weeks, someone who the Vegas Golden Knights have counted on to be a goal scorer. Now assisted by Brady McNabb and Jonathan Marchessault, making it a 1-0 game for the Vegas Golden Knights organization. And this was really a solid start to the game for your Vegas Golden Knights. I mean, you got to remember that for it being the 22nd goal of the game, you have 22nd goal of the season, make it a 1-0 score on the game. And, for Jack Eichel, all you can really ask for with him is someone that can put the puck in the back of the net. And he has absolutely done that this season. So for Jack Eichel, real setup there by Brady McNabb. Been one of the best players all year long. Dependable, reliable. I mean, Nabber's been doing his job. Marshy with the assist as well. So when it comes to Jack Eichel, him getting his 22nd goal of the season in the first period to set up that 1-0 game for your Vegas Golden Knights. And, I really have to sit here and commend the Vegas Golden Knights for their performance in the first period. It was real steady, a real stern situation there with your Vegas Golden Knights. And then there was a penalty with the Seattle Kraken in the first period, the one and only penalty, and that was a high-sticking penalty on Jaden Schwartz. He did a high stick against Brett Howden. He goes to the penalty box. Your Vegas Golden Knights would be on the power play, or as Bruce says during the T-Mobile Arena, on the MV Energy power play. And the Vegas Golden Knights unfortunately did not capitalize on the NV Energy power play. They would go 0 for 1 in this game. And unfortunately, the Golden Knights would only stay at a 1-0 lead. And at the end of the first period, it would be a situation where your Vegas Golden Knights would head back into the locker room and you would have a 1-0 lead. And Logan Thompson did a really solid job in this game. You have to give a lot of appreciation for what he did on the ice. So after the first period, 1-0 for your Vegas Golden Knights. Now, moving over to the second period, where there was some interesting stuff that happened, but it wasn't on the scoring end of it, as you had a bunch of penalties on both sides, but a very interesting situation that happened as Alec Martinez went down the tunnel in the second period. Now, this could have been an equipment failure. This could have been just a checkup just to make sure everything was okay. But after a shift, Alec Martinez did go down the tunnel. He would come back and he would play 15 minutes of ice time for your Vegas Golden Knights. But anytime someone goes down the tunnel, regardless of how big of a deal it is, Alec Martinez going down the tunnel for your Vegas Golden Knights. And in this game for Alec Martinez, this is someone who, he had no shots. He had no goals, no assists. He had 3 block shots in this game, though. So he did do what he is known for, and that is blocking shots with the Vegas Golden Knights. So Alec Martinez going down the tunnel. And then on the penalty side of it, Jonathan Marchessault, halfway into the second period, got an interference penalty against Brandon Tanev. So Jonathan Marchessault going to the penalty box, you don't see that as much as of late. But with Jonathan Marchessault going and getting to the penalty box with an interference call, that was a bit interesting to see what happens there with Jonathan Marchessault. And obviously, he was the only penalty in that second period. Vegas Golden Knights would be on the penalty kill, and they would kill off this penalty. So their penalty kill situation was 1-for-1 on the day. So a really solid job by the penalty kill for the Vegas Golden Knights. And really the only player that even had an opportunity on that power play for them, Jared McCann, he had a situation that just did not go far. So overall, the penalty kill, I have to give them props during this game. They did what they had to do and held them off. And then the Vegas Golden Knights had 2 power play opportunities as Yanni Gourde had an interference penalty against Nick Waugh at the 12-minute mark. And then with around 2 minutes left in the game, Riker Evans would shoot a puck over the glass and get himself a delay of game penalty. And both times, the Vegas Golden Knights unfortunately did not capitalize on this situation. Noah Hanifin, there was a shot from the high slot that just went wide and did not get past the goaltender in Philip Grubauer. So your Vegas Golden Knights would stay at 0-0 and 0-0 for 3 on the power play, 1-0 in the game. So after the end of the second period, it would be 1-0 Vegas, but very unfortunate for the Golden Knights to go 0 for 3 on the power play at home at T-Mobile Arena. And just really curious and interesting to see how Vegas Golden Knights try to fix that power play moving forward. So getting into the third period in this game, you have Seattle and Vegas. And, this game really was a penalty-filled third period. As a few minutes into the period, Nick Waugh would get a holding penalty against Matty Beniers. He would go to the penalty box. Your Vegas Golden Knights would be back on the penalty kill. And good news for Vegas is that they would kill off this penalty and go 2 for 2 on the penalty kill at this point in the game. So really solid job by the Vegas Golden Knights to make sure and capitalize and not make mistakes and force any errors on the penalty kill and allow Seattle to tie this game up at 1. So to be 2 for 2 on the penalty kill is really good considering they were 0 for 3 on the power play up to this point. Now, there would be a way for the Vegas Golden Knights to redeem themselves on the power play. It would come a few minutes later as Seattle Kraken's Jared McCann would get a delay of game after a faceoff violation. He would go to the penalty box, and your Vegas Golden Knights be on the NV Energy power play. And despite an opportunity by Ivan Barbashev that just did not connect, your Vegas Golden Knights would unfortunately go to 0-4 on the power play. And yeah, you really need to change up the power play. It was just not a good performance tonight between Seattle and Vegas. The power play was underwhelming, did not do what it had to do. And very disappointing. It let a lot of people down on the power play unit. So, considering what's coming up next and what's going to be right around the corner, you're going to have to fix that power play if you're the Vegas Golden Knights. To go 0-4 against the Seattle Kraken really kind of tells you all you need to know about it. And, going to be really interesting to see what happens with the Golden Knights in the next couple of weeks. Now, the Vegas Golden Knights would unfortunately get themselves in trouble as about 8 minutes left in the game. You would have Noah Hanifin go to the penalty box as he would get a high sticking penalty against Jordan Eberle. So with Jordan Eberle causing the high sticking penalty against Noah Hanifin, your Golden Knights would be on the penalty kill. And for the first time in this game, a power play goal would be scored. The bad news was it was against the Vegas Golden Knights. As about 7 minutes left in the game, Jaden Swartz, with his 12th goal of the season, assisted by Oliver Bjorkstrand and Riker Evans, would make it a 1-1 game for Seattle. Very unfortunate for the Vegas Golden Knights to be a 1-1 situation with a few minutes left in the game. And with it being a power play goal, kind of deflating, all right? Kind of, it was like, man, we had such a great penalty kill for majority of the game. They let one up. However, your Vegas Golden Knights would capitalize on the situation, as with about 2 minutes left in the third period, you would have a situation where your Vegas Golden Knights would get on the board and win this game. But out of all people that you think it could have been, out of anyone that you could think off the top of your head that would be the winner, would be the save game of the winner of the Vegas Golden Knights, would have you thought it would have been Keegan Kolesar? So Keegan Kolesar, even though it looked like Brett Howden originally, but Keegan Kolesar with his 6th goal of the season, assisted by his line mates in Nick Waugh and Brett Howden. And with a little under 2 minutes left in the game, Keegan Kolesar would get you a 2-1 game for the Vegas Golden Knights. And what a great opportunity by Keegan Kolesar. And then there would be an interesting penalty that would hit the Seattle Kraken, as there would be a situation as the Seattle Kraken would get a delay of game. So this was very odd. And so there was an unsuccessful challenge by the Seattle Kraken. However, because of that, the Seattle Kraken got a penalty because of that. It ended up being a delay of game. And it would be served by Kyler Yamamoto. And the Seattle Kraken would be actually going to the penalty box due to an unsuccessful challenge with that goal by Keegan Kolesar. Not that it would matter, because the Seattle Kraken, with about a minute left, would pull the goalie. Drew Bauer would go to the bench, and your Vegas Golden Knights would face an empty net situation, and you would have a very good opportunity to score a goal and make it a 3-1 game. And that's exactly what Chandler Stevenson would do. As with about 15 seconds left, Chandler Stevenson would shoot it into the empty net, 15th goal of the season, assisted by Brayden McNabb. So his second assist of the night. So a 2-point night for Brayden McNabb. It would be a 3-1 victory for your Vegas Golden Knights. So, wow, a win by Vegas. And what? So, yeah, so considering the playoff situation and everything that's going on with your Vegas Golden Knights, to pick up a win is a solid effort and a statement for the Vegas Golden Knights. And the fact that they actually did win a game in these jerseys is a bit interesting, considering, like I said, what happened last time Seattle and Vegas played at the Winter Classic wearing these uniforms. Seattle put up 3 goals against Vegas. So this time, Vegas put up 3 goals against Seattle. And player of the game, I have to give it to Jack Eichel. This is someone who played a very excellent performance in this game against Vegas. Not only did he score the opening goal of the game, but he also had 7 shots on net. He had a few blocked shots, and he did have a takeaway in this game. So Jack Eichel overall, in about 24 minutes of ice time, who was the most out of anybody in this game, he did really solid, and he also had a near 75% face-off winning percentage in this game. So, yeah, Jack Eichel, have to give him all the credit in this game. He is your player of the game. And this is the win-loss record for your Vegas Golden Knights. And it will be really interesting to see what happens from here, because like I mentioned when we did the wild card standings at the beginning of the video, you're 2 points behind LA. You're 4 points ahead of St. Louis, and you're 5 points ahead of Minnesota. And, hopefully your Vegas Golden Knights can capitalize and take advantage of what needs to be done. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens there, like I said. So considering the playoff implications and everything that's going on there, your Vegas Golden Knights, this is going to be a real interesting situation. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens the last dozen that we're going to have here with the Vegas Hockey Hub recap with your host, Ian Rakelli. And this is going to be a real interesting situation. I'm looking forward to what happens next. Now, on the calendar, you have Columbus in the next couple of days on Saturday, and then you have a back-to-back with St. Louis and Nashville. So this was another edition of Vegas Hockey Hub recap. I'm your host, Ian Rakelli. And until next time, continue watching hockey, go support junior hockey, and go Knights, go.
PR Connections Radio thanks you for watching this podcast. Check out more episodes of this show and our others at prconnectionsradio.com.